DRWolf Daycare, Chapter 4, written by Lightning Bliss. Dashing through the halls faster than a reindeer, the young Silverquill bounded down the halls in search of Eliora, or any skilled unicorn he knew that could help the situation he and the rest of his friends were in. He leapt over ponies like they were hurdles, barely breaking a sweat as he galloped or flew down the narrow, magical hallway. Admittedly, he did notice his newfound energy and agility as he continued downward. He couldn't remember the last time he stretched his wings out with relative ease, and not a crack in his ears as he fluttered. A sparkle in his eye as he realized this, he fluttered up, running along the wall, leaping off and then galloping along the other side of the wall, seeming to enjoy himself. "Oh, oh!" he clucked as he did a barrel roll in the air to land on his rump. "This is fun! I never thought I'd miss being young. I still have my memories, puberty hasn't touched me yet, and I feel a spring in my hooves that I've not felt since I was 10 years old?" He blinked and chuckled, rubbing his head. "I suppose I'm about that age." He looked around the rift, finding himself examining the other doors. He could recall his childhood always had a strong sense of curiosity and eager to learn and observe. Still, though, he hadn't found Eliora's door yet, and he didn't recognize any unicorns in the hallway that were magically strong enough to help him. Placing a talon under his beak, he started to think of where to go next when... "Excuse me, little fella," a gruff male voice spoke up behind him. "Are you lost? I've never seen you around the Rift Cafe before." Silver turned around facing a blue stallion with black hair. He quickly identified him from the black t-shirt as a Charky, Eliora's dental colt. "Huzzah!" The young Silver leapt to his feet. "I'm on the right track, apparently." What's that?" A Charky blinked at the child hippogriff. "Right track? Were you lost before, little guy?" "Hey, I'm not little. I'm one of the biggest reviewers here. Don't you know who I am?" "Well, you look like a miniature hippogriff, probably related to one Silverquill. I didn't know he had siblings with children. I'm guessing you are one of his nephews or something?" Silver gruffed, realizing that a Charky had no idea who he was. That or didn't assume that magical mishaps were a common trait around here. "Look, Buster, I don't have time to play whose kid I am right now." "Aw, you got a chip on your shoulder too." "Cute." A Charky rubbed his feathery head. "Didn't mean to ruffle you up, buddy. Just offering some help." "I am Silverquill!" He finally squawked out the obvious. "Oh, sure you are. And I'm Toon Critic Y2K. Want my autograph, little guy?" A Charky giggled. "You're not funny at all, sir, and I do not have time to play jokes." "Aw, but I thought kids loved jokes." "Could you please," he said with a chirp of rage, "tell me where your mare friend Eliora is? I really need her assistance." Before a Charky could answer, an ominous laugh echoed around the two pony-like beings. It was almost evil-sounding laughter that held a sense of enjoyment, as well as scheming. It swirled around them, seeming to penetrate into their being, vibrate uneasily like a chill down their spine, before slowly manifesting into a large orb of orange magic behind them. With a loud poof, the laughter gained an origin, which was in the form of a light blue grayish unicorn with a blue mane. His laughter subsided, but his cheeky grin remained planted on his long face. Aon was a scheming stallion, one with many bewitching traits, though they were not without positive outcomes. Though today he seemed to be in a rather playful mood, considering he was sporting his long black witch hat with the red buckle around the base. It stood on his head proudly as he assessed the two other ponies. "Why, hello, dearies," Aeon of Dreams spoke playfully. "Pray tell, what seems to be the trouble here?" No trouble here, Aon. Acharki smirked at his mare friend's master. I just ran into a new little friend. He seems to think he's a big, well-known hippogriff reviewer just like his Uncle Silverquill. I gotta say, though, their looks are super similar. Silver grunted with frustration. How could he possibly not know he was the real Silver? Aeon's glossy orange eyes fell on the young hippogriff, and already he could sense the situation. His grin got bigger. It appears, Acharki went on, he's looking for Eliora, but I figured she's still in her training session you left her with. Oh, but of course, dearie. Aeon smiled back as he approached the young Silverquill. But do not fret. She should be done in a few hours or so. It's an intense horror diffusion spell I'm having her figure out, and, well, it would be best not to disturb her. He chuckled as he stopped in front of Silver. Ah, well, I guess you are out of luck there, little guy, Acharki said to the young hippogriff. Want me to take you to the cafe for some ice cream? Cute. Aeon chuckled and turned to Acharki. No, don't worry about this one, dearie. I'll send him on his way. I'll let Eliora know that he was looking for her. You sure? Acharki asked hesitantly. I was about to go on with my shopping, but I don't mind hanging out with the kid. I'm not a... Silver tried to speak up, but was quickly blocked by Aeon's puffy long tail. Relax. Go on with your shopping, dearie. Well, all right, Aeon. Check back with you later. With that, Acharki trotted off, heading towards the cafe exit which would lead to the fountain, as service to teleport others to the pony world. Soon as he was gone, Aeon's smirk went to that of an evil smile towards Silver. Look, buddy, I don't know what you're playing at, but... Relax, Mr. Quill. Aeon booped Silver's beak, cutting him off. I'm a unicorn. I wasn't born yesterday. I know an age spell when I sense it. He released Silver's beak. I take it our lovely Blissy tried it out for the first time? Tried it out being the understatement of it, Silver shrugged. I'm a child, and the others are babies. Ooh, ooh. Aeon laughed hysterically. There are others? I'm very tempted to see this for myself. Silver talon-faced inward, realizing he was speaking to the wrong pony. Aeon, after all, was well known in the Rift for not taking things as seriously as others when it came to magical mishaps. Can you help us or not? I was hoping to find Eliora, but since you train her, could you? Silverquill did admit a part of him didn't want to ask the demonic stallion for help, knowing it more than likely came at a price. He could recall the last Rift Cafe incident where a split part of Toon's personality went on a rampage in other ponies' channels. A lot of that happened due to Aeon's influence. Not that Silver was pointing a blame on the gray unicorn, but he knew Aeon wasn't to be trifled with. But he was a powerful unicorn, that much was certain, and he needed all the help he could get. Of course I could fix it, dearie. Aeon smiled as he leaned down to Silverquill's height. But what would you all learn from me taking a lesson away? Besides, he straightened up again. I'd rather see the damage for myself. But, Mr. Aeon! Silver clucked, jumping in front of him. The wolves, Doc and Lady, they're dealing with a lot of babies right now. I can't imagine the struggles they are going through and... Oh? So they are with the famous DRWolf, are they? This I've got to see. Please, Aeon, just change us back. Ta-ta. Besides, you need to learn your lesson in karma. With that, Aeon teleported away, leaving nothing but a cloud of smoke in his departure. Silver coughed as the smoke dispersed, leaving him dumbstruck in that moment. What do I do? What do I do? He paced quickly back and forth like an anxious child waiting for his candy. Gah! I just told him where they all are. Doc doesn't know what Aeon is like. What do I do? What do I do? Dropping his pony half on the ground, he sat, thinking fearfully to himself. But like any child that was anxious to resolve a problem, his sulking didn't last long. "Forget this! I'm going back to help!" With that, Silver leapt to his feet, then in turn jumped up into the air and flew back down the hallway from which he came. Meanwhile, Doc just finished drying himself off from all the splashing the little ones did, with Lightning Bliss being so willing to take the water in her mouth and spit it like a sea pony water fountain at all her friends made it easier for his fur to get soaked as well. Nevertheless, he along with Lady, one by one, picked up each foal in turn and dried them off with towels hastily. Toon probably being the most difficult of the bunch as Doc tried to wrap him all over in a towel to ruffle dry. "Tickles!" Toon whined under the towel, struggling to get free. "Now hold still, Mr. Toon." Doc tried to keep him under the towel long enough to dry his premature feathers. "If your wings don't get dry, you can't fly. Though that may be a good thing for now," he muttered under his voice just as Toon's head poked out. "No tickles!" Toon bolted from the towel while the canine therapist was distracted. All red and black in his glory, without clothes on, he leapt to the couch, hyper from the wetness and cold air that hit him. "Play now! Play now!" "Play?" Bliss poked her head out from under a towel Lady had wrapped her in. Her cyan green eyes bubbled with enthusiasm. "No, we're not playing now." Doc held a hand to her. "Please, Miss Bliss, aren't you all tired from earlier today?" "Me play!" Keyframe stood up from her own towel wrap. Lady smiled at the foal's eagerness, but even she had to sigh, seeing as her efforts to keep them all dry was starting to fail quickly. Toon was already getting the couch soaked. Now the carpet was beginning to suffer. Doc rubbed the middle of his brow again with frustration. How can they still have this much energy? Should we just find a playpen or something for them? He asked his lady. She in turn looked to him with uncertain eyes and rolled her shoulders, not sure of what to do at this point, except to get them all dry. Meanwhile, Golden Fox, Firebrand, and KP were shaking the water off their manes and furs and taking a seat down next to the couch Toon was jumping on. Attempting to further dry out their tails or wings, Firebrand managed to find his little jacket and struggled to get it on, while KP giggled at his efforts. Golden, meanwhile, was getting annoyed with his feathered wings not drying, and attempted to buzz them for a quicker result. This, however, resulted getting more water on Firebrand and KP, making both foals annoyed. "Goldie, bad!" KP snorted at him. "Dum-dum!" Firebrand also retorted as he tried to shake the water off his jacket. Golden's blue eyes went wide with sadness, the insults making him feel hurt and alone. He was, after all, a very sensitive colt. Even in adult form, his emotions were a fragile spot. His muzzle curled as he began to sniffle and snort, tears forming in his eyes. Oh dear. Doc quickly went to Golden as he began to cry. There, Mr. Golden. I'm sure Firebrand and Miss KP didn't mean anything by it." "Hurt! Mean!" Golden cried even louder as he pointed at Firebrand and KP. Both foals realized how upset Golden was then, and looked to each other, uncertain how to deal with it, other than to sulk in guilt. Keyframe, however, went up to Golden and placed a hoof on his shoulder, to which he leaned against and cried next to her. This was enough to settle Toon down as well, seeing as his orange comrade was so upset. Even Lightning Bliss went up to Golden, worry in her large eyes. "Goldie, nice," Lightning said squeakily, placing her little hoof on his other shoulder. "Goldie, good. Goldie, pretty." "Pretty?" Golden looked to Bliss, seeming to blush. "Yes," Keyframe also chimed in. "Pretty, Golden." Yes." Doc rubbed his head, seeing the two fillies trying to cheer him up. "Golden is, very handsome. But I think Mr. Firebrand and KP should say something. He looked to the two whom hurt Golden's feelings in the first place. Both KP and Firebrand immediately looked away, looking more guilty than before. Well, Doc enforced. Come on now, you are friends here. Friends don't say mean things to each other. He crossed his arms. Say you're sorry, please. Lady also walked up, crossing her arms, giving the two foals a firm stare to back up her spouse. Firebrand and KP looked at the two adult wolves, then to each other, sighed heavily, and both said in union, "We're sorry." Phew, Doc sighed in relief. Well, now that's out of the way, maybe we could all have a nice little knock knock, called the deep, scheming voice of Aon as he opened the door. Hello there, dearies. Doc and Lady spun around as they spotted Aeon of Dreams standing in the doorway, clearly looking amused at the situation. He tilted his black witch hat to the wolves, then stepped inside. Ah, Mr. Dreams. Doc blinked in surprise. Hello there. Did Silverquill send you? Lady stepped up next to Doc, also beaming with hope this was why Aeon was here. He did, but didn't. Aeon grinned as he approached, heading straight for the foals whom were sitting there quietly for once, all looking fearful yet curious at the new stranger now in the office. He told me your itty-bitty situation. He wasn't even exaggerating, Walking calmly, Aeon looked over his younger colleagues, each one looking back with equal amounts of curiosity, after which he identified all whom were affected, not just being Silverquill, but Firebrand, KP, Keyframe, Golden Fox, Toon Critic, and even Lightning Bliss herself to his amusement. So you are here to help? Thank goodness! Doc walked over to Aeon as he observed the children. Yes, Miss Bliss here had, well, for lack of better words, jumped the gun on her anger and transformed everyone into younger versions of themselves. But I hear you are very skilled in magic, Mr. Dreams. You think you can reverse the process? I could, but whether or not I will, that's a fun question. What? Doc spouted in shock, but quickly recoiled as a large orange eye fell back on him. Yes, I may reverse it, but my apprentice could use a lesson in such, so I think it would be best to leave the others as they are for now. By this point, Firebrand, KP, and Toon had recoiled back to the couch, looking a bit more nervous seeing their guardian was frustrated as well as intimidated of the larger unicorn. Though Golden Fox and Keyframe seemed accustomed to Aeon's personality and remained where they were, looking on in more curiosity. However, it was Lightning Bliss that approached Aeon with enthusiasm and pawed at his hoof, begging to be noticed by him. Mr. Dreams, Aeon, please see reason, Doc protested. My lady and I have had quite a few things to do at the moment, and I'm sure our colleagues would be grateful if you reverse the process in the end. The situation doesn't benefit any of us at the moment. Please reconsider. Heh. Aeon chuckled hearing the Doc's plight as he looked down at Lightning. Come now, dearie, I'm sure it's not that bad. But if you are so busy, I could take a few of the little ones off your paws. Huh? Doc choked on his words. If 7 is too much for you to handle, I can take a few off of you and your lovely lady. Aeon winked to the lady as he finished. Besides... Up! Lightning Bliss pleaded happily at the large unicorn, hopping on her back legs as she stretched up to him. This one in particular seems to like me a lot. Aeon happily picked up baby Lightning Bliss, cuddling her gently in one arm. Oh, you're even cuter than you were before, Blissy. Boop. He lightly touched her nose with his free hoof. Tee-hee-hee! The little alicorn blushed and held her face to hide her redness. Once her giggle fit finished, she reached up to play with his witchy hat, oblivious to the fact that the hat was an exact representation of his personality. "Oh, isn't that just precious?" He exaggerated his voice to sound a bit more babyish. "Let's say you and I go back to my channel. I'll read you a little bedtime story from the Necronomicon." "Now hold on!" Doc quickly snatched Bliss away from Aon. "I mean, we're perfectly all right, Mr. Aon." Bliss blinked, being suddenly pulled away, looking at a very concerned wolf, then back to her favorite new friend, Aon. In that realization she wasn't going with him now, made her eyes glaze with tears. "I would hate for your time to be taken up with children too. This all happened in my office, so Doc struggled to cover his reasonings for snatching Bliss away. "I believe it's my responsibility to watch out for them till a willing unicorn is able to fix the problem. You understand, right?" "It's no trouble at all, dearie," Aon said suggestively as he approached Doc, extending a hoof out to the now crying Lightning Bliss, offering once again. She stretched out to his hoof, wanting to be held by him. "Nope." Doc pulled Bliss away and handed her to Lady, who took her to the far side where she couldn't see Aon or Doc anymore. "I'm certain it will be all right. You said Miss Eliora could do it." "Oh, she's always looking for a new spell to learn. I'm sure she could handle it." Aon continued to grin at Doc as Bliss was taken to a more quiet part of the room, though her cries of protest could clearly be heard. "She will be a while, though. I have her in an intense training session at the moment." "All right, then," Doc sighed. "You certain you can't reconsider yourself?" "I did offer to take a few of them off your paws, dearie. That is the only help I'm willing to offer at this time." "Aon!" Bliss bellowed on the far side of the office, making his ears flicker. "Someone seems to appreciate the offer." He let out his iconic evil laugh that made the other foals cower, with the exception of Golden Fox and Keyframe. "No, thank you," Doc quickly escorted Aon to the door. "Just be sure to tell Miss Eliora as soon as she can to stop by here, please." "Can do. Ta-ta, dearie." With that, he teleported away, another menacing laugh following his departure. Doc coughed as the smoke began to clear. Goodness, that was too close for comfort. Lady approached with Bliss still in her arms, the poor filly looking exhausted from crying, while Lady looked at Doc with firmness and confusion. "Please don't look at me that way," Doc explained to his wife. "It's not that I don't think Aon could have helped with watching some of them, I question his methods. I didn't want to risk some of the children having nightmares or..." Lady's eyebrow raised higher. "Aon has books on things that I wouldn't call foal-friendly, my dear. Okay?" Lady said nothing, but sighed and nodded, taking the sobbing Bliss away to dry her tears. Doc rubbed his head, frustrated more of the situation than ever before. First with all the children, then the constant crying, the fighting, Firebrand nearly setting him on fire, and a giant mess in the cafe's kitchen. It was all extremely overwhelming for the canine therapist. He wasn't even sure how any pony parent could handle it with one child, let alone 6. Not sure what was going to happen next, or how he and Lady were going to deal with it, Doc turned to head back in his office when suddenly, "Wah!" Silver screamed out as he crashed into the unprepared Dr. Wolf, both colliding and slamming into the office, the door slamming behind them. "Gah!" Doc coughed, the air knocked out of him. "Silver? Doc?" Silver chirped, quickly getting off the ruffled wolf. "Sorry, did Aon come here? Did I make it back in time?" "He came and went, Mr. Silver." Doc sat up with the help of Lady as he dusted himself off. May I ask why you felt the need to fly and literally crash into me like this? Oh, I thought that... Silver sat back, looking innocently cute as he struggled to find his words. Aon can be a little over the top at times, and I had no intentions of sending him to you, but I... Enough. Doc was finally at his breaking point. I know you were trying to help Silver, but it appears now all we can do is wait. I'm tired, and the others are tired too, I'm sure. Me no tired? Bliss whined from Lady's hold. Yes, you are. Doc frowned at her, then addressed the other foals. All of you are tired and grumpy and need... Don't say it! Silver squawked. Not that word! Silver chirped again. A nap. Doc folded his arms. Silence fell on the room as all the foals looked up to Doc in shock and horror. Even Silver cringed at the word and braced himself for what came next. A union of screams and cries echoed into the office as all the babies began to cry in protest.